So there's a lot of hype around AI phone answering at the moment, and honestly I think a lot of trades businesses are simultaneously curious about it and slightly terrified of it, because the fear is, what if it sounds rubbish? What if it mishandles an emergency? What if the customers hate it? What if it damages my reputation? So rather than just walking you through buttons and settings, what I wanted to do in this video is show you how I'd actually approach rolling this out in a real trades business. So the reality is that most small trades business owners physically cannot answer every call. If you're under a boiler, driving, on site, quoting or dealing with another customer, the phone rings out, and most customers aren't leaving voicemails anymore. So for me, the real comparison isn't AI versus a full-time receptionist. It's AI versus voicemail, or AI versus completely missed calls. And even if you eventually call back, speed matters massively now. Customers are used to immediate responses from literally everything else in life. Now, just to be clear, I don't think this AI phone agent is magic. I don't think it replaces great customer service, and I definitely don't think you should just switch it on and hope for the best. But I think there are some really smart, low-risk ways to use it. So let's get into just the initial kind of settings, setup, and what you're going to be looking at so that you can build familiarity with it. So you're firstly going to have to be using ServiceM8 Phone already. So if you come to Account, Settings, and then go to ServiceM8 Phone, you've got these settings here. And if you're on the wait list for Phone Agent, you should have had a notification and you can sign up for it. So you'll have a ServiceM8 Phone Agent option here, and you can hit Settings. So the first thing to understand is you've got three modes. You've got business hours, after hours, and voicemail. Now, business hours will use information from your FAQ, which we'll talk about in a second, but it will primarily take what it sees your business hours are in your account settings, your kind of account preferences. So if I come over to preferences and show you company information, it'll take them from here. So you firstly want to make sure that those are all present and correct. If I go back to the settings, so we've got the three call modes. After hours will pick up anything outside of those hours. So for me, it's before 9 o'clock, after 5 o'clock, and on the weekends. And then voicemail will be kind of everything else, every time a customer goes to leave a voicemail. The next thing to note is you can give it a name and you can choose its personality. So again, this is just the way it's going to talk to your customers. And your then main choice is whether you use the setup method of structured or custom. So I would strongly recommend that you start with structured, because then you can build structured questions that you answer in detail, and you can kind of spoon feed it the information in a structured way. If I show you custom, it turns it into a set of custom instructions that you would have to build. And again, you can use AI to help you build these. The quality of the instructions obviously is going to determine the quality of your agent. So just to get started, use structured, and I'll talk you through the FAQs that you need to have added. So in terms of the settings for each mode, they all look the same. So if we come to the after hours settings, then you have a greeting that you need to set. And then it groups the different types of inquiries so that you can choose how you want the agent to deal with them. So you've got quote and service requests, new inquiries, current jobs and clients, other calls, and special cases. And for each one, the agent can perform different actions. And again, I'll talk you through what those options are, but they're fairly self-explanatory. And then this tick box here works as an additive measure. So it can flag messages as urgent, so that if it's really important for you to know about this particular, quote requests, it will do create online booking and it'll allocate it in the inbox as urgent. So that's an additive measure rather than a replacement measure. So for each one, you would just choose the action and go from there. Okay, so that's the structured method of setup. Next, I'm going to talk you through the stages of rollout. So here's a guide that's been created from all of the setup instructions and everything that I can see about the AI agent. So it gives you is a call routing and setup decisions summary. So every call starts here, incoming call, customer dials your ServiceM8 phone number or your existing business number. And so the first decision to make is which agent modes will you enable? And so this is talking about your business hours mode, your after hours mode, and your voicemail mode. ServiceM8 will look at the modes that you've got and then do a time of day check. So it reads your operating hours in settings, preferences, company information, which I just showed you, and all three modes are activated based on these hours. So it's really important to get these right. So this then details the three agent modes. So business hours mode is going to be during your business hours. After hours, self-explanatory, it's kind of before and after those business hours and weekends. And then voicemail mode is catches call staff couldn't take. And so this is going to talk you through when it's firing. And actually the after hours mode is your recommended starting point because you would be losing these calls kind of regardless. So this is a great place to start. So this diagram will take you through all of the decisions. And there's then details of all of the call outcomes. But if I show you the actions first, so these were the actions in the drop down, and you've got choices. You've got create online booking, send the customer an SMS link to the online booking page. So that's to your simple online inquiry form. And that means that they can submit their own detail. And if you tick that box next to it, it'll flag it as urgent. You can have it transfer to on-call staff. So again, dependent on your ServiceM8 phone settings, if you've set up a secondary call group or an after-hours call group, you can have it transfer to there. You can have it transfer to a specific staff member or to a specific phone number. You can get it to record a message. So you take a full message, saves it to the inbox with the call recording attached. You can provide information from your FAQs. You can transfer it to a call group, registered staff member, and you can check address and service area. And you can see these ones are highlighted. These ones are available if you pick the custom mode of setup. So I'm recommending you start with structured, so you've got these 7 actions available to you. But then when you're ready, you can develop it out to custom only. So understanding the actions is really important. The next thing you want to do is to build out your knowledge base. So I recommend you have at least 7 questions and start with these. You want to answer them in detail. So I'll give you a template that you can use and some examples of answers to these questions. But start with these 7 questions in terms of adding structured FAQ. So that was when you're adding FAQ, you want a question on each of those topics. Answer it in detail. So again, this gives you guidance, kind of be specific, define emergencies clearly, list all of the towns and postcodes covered, give ranges or call out fees. So again, get specific on your pricing if you can. Business hours, state them clearly in here. It'll use this as well as the operating hours setting. What you don't cover, because again, you don't want to be picking up work that you don't actually offer, and then payment methods. There's then a pre-launch setup checklist here. So you check your operating hours in ServiceM8. You choose a name and personality for your agent profile. You add your 7 specific kind of knowledge-based questions and you get those up and running. You decide what you're doing with your on-call staff member set. So you would go to secondary call groups and the phone settings. You want to make sure that you've got your simple online inquiry form enabled. So I'll show you that now. To do that, you go to Account, Settings, ServiceM8 Add-ons, start typing simple, and it's here. You want to make sure this is on. And if it is on, this is your link. So you can see that, test that out. Again, just a quick tip, make sure that the logo that you've saved in your account settings is of a reasonable size. So ideally under 100 kilobytes. If this image is massive, if this logo image is over kind of 100k and it's up in the megabytes, this is going to slow the page down. People get impatient. So you want to make sure that your logo is saved efficiently. And if you need help doing that, let me know. But a website that I use pretty much every day is one called TinyPNG. So you can drop your logo in here and it will compress it for you. So make sure you've got your simple online inquiry form set up and make sure your logo image is small and manageable. Coming back to this pre-launch setup checklist, you want to make sure you've got each mode configured. So pick structured and then just start with after hours. So again, it says here, start with after hours, test it, and then others. You then want to test it. So in terms of testing before you go live, you want to test different scenarios, and testing is all part of the process because you'll need to refine your setup, refine your instructions. So I'd recommend that you come back to your phone settings and use the test call feature. So again, if you're doing this on a desktop, you can't test this within the desktop version of ServiceM8. You need to be, again, there's a few steps. You need to be on Chrome and you need to have this ServiceM8 phone extension installed. So again, I'll give you a link to that. If you try and do test calls on the desktop version of ServiceM8, it's not going to work and you're going to get frustrated. So you want to be on the desktop version of ServiceM8 on Chrome with the ServiceM8 phone extension switched on, and you also need a pair of compatible headphones. So whether that's AirPods or just some way of answering calls on your computer. So that's really important to stop you getting frustrated before you do your test calls. And when you're doing your test calls, you want to pretend through a number of scenarios that you're an angry caller, that it's an emergency, that you're a vague customer. You maybe want to ask some pricing questions. You want there to be some interruptions, maybe an example of a customer with poor signal and a lot of background noise. So you can test out these different scenarios. Your test calls should be trying to break what you've set up. And that's how you discover the weaknesses safely. So if we go back to this, so you test before you go live, and then existing phone customers get after hours mode free. So that's another reason for starting with the after hours mode. You then, once you're ready, you switch it on with this button here. And then you want to go into a phase of monitoring. So don't just set and forget. Monitor every single call that comes in. Look out for or listen out for frustrations, or where they get stuck, or where the routing doesn't work as you want it to, or look for typos, that kind of thing. So look for problems once it goes live and continue to refine it. So this is, you probably need, I don't know, half an hour to an hour to get this set up initially and do some tests. And then you want to put in a little bit of time each day to listen to the after hours calls, see how it's working, and then roll out what you've learnt to the rest of the modes. You don't ever have to use the business hours mode. If you've got someone that's available to answer the phone, you don't have to switch this on at all. You could just leave it as after hours and voicemail. In terms of viewing the call history, you've got a view button here. So you'll be able to review those calls. As you can see, it records the entire transcript and you can see exactly how it's responded. So once you go live, you're checking that call history here, and these are the specific ones that the AI agent has picked up. So I hope that helps. I'm going to give you this document here. I'm going to give you some examples and a template for you to build out these 7 very specific questions to get you started, and then get started and let me know how you get on with it.